a couple quick questions. Because we're in the pandemic world, you know, COVID world, and you are yourself in Cali, and Cali has been going through its ups and downs. How are you? How are you during this time? What has life been like for you?
Right. Well, I'm great. I'm just staying away from the COVIDious, as I like to say. You know, I stay away from them. Girl, when I go out, I look like I'm working for CDC. I've got 2 masks on. I have a face shield, but you know what? You can't put a price on peace of mind.
Amen.
So, I mean, all jokes aside, I've actually been very happy, and I've done very, very good. I've still been creative, like, you know, hosting different festivals. Actually, which is really crazy, is I started even getting more auditions and callbacks and producer sessions, of course, through the Zoom platform or self-taping this pandemic. And I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
You know, like what's going on here? But I feel like it's a time, no matter what you're doing, to be reflective, maybe figure out what's missing from your work, get different ideas, because you have more free time to really invest. You're not caught up in the daily. You can take that time and go through everything. So I appreciate you asking me that. Yeah, I'm doing good, still doing good. Things are changing around here. I'm maybe not wanting to change to a certain extent. But you know, it's been good. Surprisingly, I was surprised with the different opportunities that I had. And so I took advantage of it. I threw my stank face away on the whole self tape, because you know,
Yes,
as a you know, here's my thing, right? I'm old school. I love going in the room. I love getting to talk to the casting directors, because they have an insight to what the producer's looking for, what the project is going to be about. And it's not that you're not trying to perform for them. I'm not here to present anything to you. This is me. These are my ideas. But the benefit of going in the room is you do your thing. And when you're done, they can say, you know what, try a little bit more like this. And I know some actors don't like getting adjustments. I love adjustments, because what adjustments means is that you're taking the time because you see something in what I'm doing. And that's just a tip, right? That's just something that's going to help me. With self-tapes, though, and this has been like, I mean, the industry's been doing a lot more self-tapes, I would say the past, I don't know, like I would say heavily the past 5 years, about maybe 5 to 7 years. So for me, you know, when you're doing the self-tape, you've got to kind of put all these different things in mind. You know, you've got to, sometimes they don't ask for a second tape, so you just, you know, you slip that in there to give them a different view.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're such a visual society. It's like, if you don't see it, you don't think it can be done. So you want to have another option there, so that way they can be like, oh, okay, yeah. Like maybe we'll have her come back, or we'll give her these notes and stuff like that. So for me, self-tape is, I've never been a fan of it. You know, I know a lot of actors, they love it. They love to be able to have 100 takes. For me, I don't find where that's beneficial, because when you're on set, you don't get 100 takes.
Right.
So you start getting comfortable, and you start kind of just getting lazy, you know, with when it comes to self-tapes. And for myself, I've just kind of made sure that when I'm doing them, it's like, okay, maybe 5 at max. Give myself 5, because when you do go back in the room, even if it's like 30 years from now, whenever you do go back in the room, who knows? I don't know, right? You want to be able to make those adjustments. And I think it's kind of like the whole practice how you play. You still want to be able to have a good attitude, show that you can listen. And that's some of the things that when you submit self-tapes, the other side, the producers, casting, whatever, they don't know that about you, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that go into just showing up into the audition room, you know, showing up on time. Well, I mean, you're self-taping at home, so you can tape whenever you want. You don't know, is a person respectful of people's time? How does a person feel if they get adjustments? How are they treating everybody? I mean, you don't need to be everyone's best friend, but just, hey, okay. You know what I mean? Like, all those things come into play. And with the pandemic, obviously, it's definitely almost like 99.5% online, and self-tapes and all those little things are not going into it. So it's been interesting though, but I'm grateful for every opportunity. I'm grateful just to be here. You know what I mean?
That's the truth. Yeah.
I'm grateful just to be here, you know, because there's so many people that are not. And every day we're here, honestly, it's the start of the rest of your life. Every day.
Yep.
Every day you can do something different, right? So
it's a definite blessing. I will say that.
There's so many variables into the process, right? There's so many different things. When you are auditioning or you're up for something, just because you don't get it, it doesn't mean that, you know, there was someone better than you. I mean, sometimes it is that simple. There is just someone better than you, or that gave the person what they were looking for more specifically. I love the quote from August Wilson: have a belief in yourself as bigger than anyone else's disbelief. I really feel coming into this industry, you have to have a good sense of self. I recommend you have a good sense of self. You know, you have to believe in your work and believe in what you do. You're not here for they and them. You're not here for them. Like I said it before, you're not here to present anything. This is what I have. And not everyone's buying, and that's okay.
Yes.
If not this, something better.
Yes.
And that's how you, and that's just the way it goes. So, I mean, you know, of course, I would love to be working 100% of the time, because that's what we're here for. You're creative. You want to definitely be working as much as possible. This is what I have decided to do in my life. But I learned, I guess, from coming into the industry, because coming in, you don't know but so much. Even when you do your homework, you don't know but so much. And you have these little things. And I know I'm not the only person that felt like that. Like, oh, by this age or by that time and this is gonna be the milestone and that. Yep. And it's not that straight path. It's like boom, 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 boom. I mean, you're all over the place, right? And that's okay. It's really okay, because when it comes down to it, it's just your ego edging God, the universe, Allah, whatever you believe in, out. That's all you're doing at that point in time. Yep. Right. And then if you put these blocks up, you can't be creative. You're not open to everything that's around you. Yeah. So I've learned to be like, okay, that's all right. It's coming, because I know it. I feel it. And you know, it's just kind of what we do. You have to just have an idea of what you want for yourself and go after it. I mean, that's always been my thing that I like to recommend, is define what your own level of success is, because your level of success may not be what mine is. And if you don't, you're going to have everybody and their mother telling you what it should be, how it could be, and feeling that you got to meet those expectations. No, stay and remain open and just go for it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, you know?
You okay, you just segueing into everything I got to talk about today. I love
Am I? Maybe it's because I do some hosting. A little wink for you. No, I'm kidding.
So listen, that's so great. Talking about core values, because as someone who knows you, you are correct in your bio. You are very genuine. You are very reliable. But let's be real as well. You are very confident, which I love. And you are also a straight shooter. You do not mince words. Right. You are here for fairness. No. And you are mad cool. Yes. All that wrapped up into
Thank you.
Person. You are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I would say I give some of it to being an East Coaster. You know, you East Coast, you New York, you're going to definitely be a straight shooter, tell it like it is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't understand people that don't want to be themselves. I don't get that. At the end of the day, here's something that I always say, and this is the truth, no matter how it comes out, is that there's always somebody that's smarter than you, richer than you, prettier than you, skinnier than you, darker than you, lighter than you, whatever it is. But there's only one you. And how wonderful is that? How amazing is that there's only one you? And I wouldn't trade that for anything in the world. Only you are going to have your smile, the way you see the world. The way you see the world is what you're going to bring to the table when you are an actor or when you're a filmmaker or a writer, whatever it is, you know? So why would you want to do anything else? This actor that I interviewed, actually at the Culture and Diversity Film Festival, he said it so beautifully, which I was like, oof, love that quote. He was like, you were born an original, don't die a copy. And we live in the world now, unfortunately, that's all about, I know, right? That's like, oof, you know, I want to be 70 years old, putting my head down on my pillow, like, you know what? I lived my life the way I wanted to, and I feel good about it. And I didn't go around hurting people on purpose. I was true, and this is where it is. And so I really do appreciate you saying that. It's just important. You know, it's just important. You know, people need help, or you can help people. to be there.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. Another lesson of the COVID-19 year and a half pandemic is definitely, you know what I mean? It's the never ending pandemic. But I think that it reminded people of that, you know, you do you and you live your life.
Yeah. And I mean,
and that's really
even for those people, I guess the entertainment industry is one of those things where, even more so than other industries, people seek longevity. I think more than I've ever seen. Your whole point is to like be at the top. And I think it's easy for someone, if they don't have those core values, if they aren't aware of self, to slip into a situation for a role, for a position where they lose their integrity, where they lose those core values. Have you ever been in a position where someone asked you to do something like that for a role or position and you had to stand on your own truth?
So there hasn't, to be honest with you, there hasn't been anyone that has specifically said, you know, kind of like the hashtag me too, if you do this, or if, you know, I want you to do this to get that. There hasn't been anything like that. I myself, though, I have basically stated that I don't want to do nudity, not right now in my point of my career, which I know that there have been some opportunities when I was dealing with certain like agents and managers where they're like, well, you know, this role and that role. And I'm like, no, you know, I think that as a person in the industry, or just a person in general, right? You don't want to do anything that questions your integrity and your morale. And for me right now, and this is not against anyone out there, you know, doing nudity and all that kind of stuff, you're comfortable with it, go ahead and do it. But for me, I'm kind of like, well, once you take those clothes off on the screen, you can't do it. And I also notice that a lot of time when it comes to the roles for minorities, it's always like, take the shirt off. You know what I mean? It's always like, you know, a couple years ago, it was very much like, you see the minority, you read the breakdown, and there's nudity against her name. And I'm like, well, why we gotta take our clothes off?
Right.
Like, so there have been certain opportunities that I've had to kind of basically pass over because I don't want to do nudity at this point in time. That's just not me.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of times people really do feel pressured when they, again, want to reach a certain goal. They want to be the next Viola Davis. They want to be the next Meryl Streep, what have you. Honestly, like we've already said, you got to just stay in your own lane. Do what feels right. As long as you stick to that, you'll be okay. And I mean, hey, like you said, maybe those opportunities will come. But even if they don't, you know, that's all right too. You know?
Exactly. I feel very grateful that I haven't been in those kinds of positions. But again, I think that if you can, I don't want to say read people, but kind of can fill people out, you know, necessarily, oh, no, I can kind of see what that person over there is about. So let me just kind of stay away with them, you know, stay away from them, or stay away from that. I don't know. I care more about the work than I do about the $1 million paycheck or the fame. I'm not even saying, definitely ain't even close to making $1 million. All right. You know what I mean? But I care more about the art, because we have such a responsibility as an artist. I think Jane Fonda said it best, using film as a platform to affect change. And that's what I'm here for. I want down the road my work to matter, even in the sense of like, hey, we're just turning on that movie there because I'm going to have a really good laugh from that. Great. Oh, we're turning on that movie there because that movie there is going to give me the strength to get through something. And you know what movies affect you. Like, we've talked about movies, and you know what movies affect you. And those are the ones that affect me. They may not be true stories. They may not be, you know, things that are happening right now, but they're relevant because they're the human experience. It's real. And so that's what's more important to me. And that's why I'm constantly like, okay, for myself, figuring out what's missing in my work. You know, if I think this is missing, okay, let me try to do a class here. Let me try it this way. Let me do it like this, because that's what I want to do. And I think that comes with, like you mentioned before, with longevity, with Meryl Streep and Viola Davis. You know, these are people that have such strong thespian background, and they're always about their work. It doesn't even matter. It's just the funniest thing.
So true. You know what? In speaking about having that grounding, we just talked about the fact, and it was so random too. We just talked about your formal acting training. I was like, oh yeah, I got this book, The Power of the Actor. You ever heard of it? You're like, yeah. Like, I actually went to the classes.
Yeah, girl, let me hang on a second. Hold up. It's like, my laptop is like sitting on the bed right now, so I'm pulling out like, no lie, boom, boom, right here in my nightstand.
I love it.
Right here in my nightstand. This one, and then I'm currently reading An Actor Prepares, Konstantin Stanislavski, which we were kind of briefly talking about because of Rada. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah.
Love it.
The Power of the Actor, like, it's that's crazy. I thought that was so crazy. I was like, wait, what? I'm like, where are you reading this? But
yeah,
game changer. And I recommend that to anyone that's out there, like, even if you're not in Los Angeles, California, where you can actually take classes at Ivana Chubbuck Studios, to grab that book and read it, because at least it'll open your eyes a different way. Yeah. I actually read the book before I started taking classes there, and it just was very helpful. Because, you know, as an actor, you want to have a toolkit, right? You want to be like, I can pull on that method when I need to, or that method and that method, but you need to have a core foundation that is steady and works for you. Yes. And I feel for myself, like, this one, as she explains in the book, has been the best that I've seen. Really a lot of growth in my work. And I don't think that you should put all the weight in your, you know, the callbacks and the job and whatever, but more bookings and more callbacks and everything by really getting into that process, along with a couple other things. But yeah, The Power of the Actor, definitely.
Yeah, it's heavy. I mean, even the first chapter, like, I dived in real deep, real fast. I mean, she talks about Hallie to the Oscar for Monsters Ball. And then, because full disclosure, like, I'm a young filmmaker and I have a whole lot to learn. I'd never seen Monsters Ball, but I knew that it was, like, really sad. And that was part of why I didn't watch it. But I saw that trailer and I was like, oh man, oh yeah, this is a goodie for sure. So,
oh yeah.
I guess my question to you is, what have you learned through your formal acting training that you know you never would have gotten anywhere else?
That's a great question. It really is a great question. Well, what's funny is, one thing was very simple, and this is actually not from, you know, Chubbuck Studios. This is from a different teacher that said, and this wasn't like a specific correction, this was like to the whole class. Why is there a disconnection between you and the character? You're basically dialing something up or dialing something down. And it makes so much sense, because even with all the characterization that you can get into, the core of it is still you, is still the way you view the world. I really think that simple comment, it just made so much sense. It was like, yeah, you know, there's no separate person here playing this part. It is me. I am seeing this for the character. I'm, you know, talking for the character. I'm hearing for the character. You know, the character has the same heart as me. So why do I feel like I've got to lose some of me to bring this character? And I think that along with things with Chubbuck Studios being goal oriented, I love that with The Power of the Actor. I love the idea of that. It really puts things into perspective. You know, you have, because we all do in life, right? We have our overall goals, and then maybe at that point in time in life, there's a smaller goal, but it still leads to the bigger goal. Right. You know, like, I had a callback from a sci-fi film, and it was just basically I think it was like making a decision for like someone that you love, keeping them in this world, but they wouldn't be themselves. So kind of like if they would have the soul, but they wouldn't be themselves. So you feel that kind of guilt and that pain that you're the reason why they are there, but you're making the choice of, do I want to keep them here even though they'll never be the same as they were before, or do I want them to stay, that kind of thing. And it was actually an emotional scene. And so to get me away from feeling like, oh, it should be like this, it should be like that, I just set the goal to keep a loved one alive. That's all I want to do. No matter what comes out of my mouth, I want to keep a loved one alive and wildly go after that goal. And that's when that method, in my opinion, I mean, I could talk this for hours and I don't want to bore anybody, but like, you know, I mean, I could talk this for hours, you know what I mean? But like, that's when that method just works, because that's the last thing. You've done all the homework, you've gotten all your specifics and all your images, and you've done all of that. Now moving forward, all you're doing before you hit that camera to start your scene is just like, you have your moment before, you know, whatever it is that's going to make you desperately go after that goal. You have that, and then I want to keep this person alive. I want to keep my loved one alive. What am I going to do? What's working? Like, you know, and that's been pretty cool. I mean, there's so much in acting. I love it so much. I'm like, we could talk this all day long. But, you know.
I think that's such a beautiful thing. I even mentioned that to you, having that one objective, because when I think about like the most incredible performances that I've seen, the one word that I can ever put with that actor is giving. Like, they're giving to their process, they're giving to their character, they're giving all of themselves for this one main goal. I think that is just fantastic.
It's all or nothing. I think the best actors and actresses that, you know, we love, and I might have a different list than you have, but whoever it is, there's someone that is, I say, riveting. They come on and it's course shaking. It's like, boom, you know. It's not always like the most charismatic. Some people are just very charismatic. You're like, oh, I could watch them all day. But in terms of just like performances and whatever it is, it's like it's all or nothing. There's not for 1 minute that whatever it is that they're going after, you don't believe it, not for 1 second. And I think that's the ultimate goal as an actor, is just to really be able to have that moment and just go there.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking as someone who is a multi-hyphenate, you are not only an actor, but you're also a producer. Having this background, what type of projects are you attracted to as an actor? And what type of projects are you attracted to bring to fruition as a producer?
Right. So as an actor, the projects that I'm attracted to are, I would say, the ones that are like who I am. Someone that's going to fight for people that can't fight for themselves, fight for injustices, you know, low key change the world. Those are the kinds of characters that I like. For example, Norma Ray, Aaron Brockovich. As a producer, the things that I would want to see come to the screen is kind of like what we were talking about earlier. The projects for the Black community that shows us why we matter. You know, this shows all of our contributions, the untold stories, the hidden figures, you know, things like that. That's what I would love to see more of, because I feel like it's just not tapped out enough. I feel that there's a missing void to that. We choose the same historical figures, not that they aren't great men and women, but we don't need to break down their life. You know what I mean? We'll do, here's the full story. Now here's them at this particular time. There's so much that is out there. I think also too, it'd be nice to see more coming of age stories as well.
Come on, that's my area right there. Yep.
I think that's something that would be maybe on the back burner for me, because I like the idea of all the historical things that are out there that are not just built around slave, that's just built around everything from internet to, like we said, the traffic lights, all those kinds of things that we did. But coming of age stories, that's a whole.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that I've noticed, because I think I mentioned this in the last interview that I had. I studied Black coming of age films during my master's program, just because I was like, literally, where are they? Even the new ones, I've noticed typically have a really negative storyline. And I'm just like, yo, I get that we have gone through some hardships, but my goodness, not every Black person's life is just the worst thing you've ever seen. Like, we have to start changing the narrative. Like, I think even when Dope came out, which was such a different sort of coming of age film, it was kind of quirky and still like cute and good. To see more of that in just a very just a broader way, I'd appreciate something that's just less negative, for sure.
Absolutely. I think also too, it's this thing where I don't understand why maybe it's the writers, because maybe they're not in our world, if they're, you know, white and they're not in our world and things like that. I don't understand why it's so hard just to write a human story and just cast people of color in it. We don't need to build on this stereotype. We don't need to build on that stereotype. Just have a great story, and people that are, you know, Black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, are in it. Very simple. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a particular time period. It doesn't have to be in a certain neighborhood. There's many stories where you see where, let's say, the cast was mostly, you know, Caucasian, that could have easily worked for a minority cast. I think it's kind of like when it comes down to the whole, you know, hashtag Oscars so white, that whole thing, like back in, I think that was like 2016.
Yeah.
So my argument for that was, it didn't need to be said. Yes. However, you're going after the wrong group. The Academy cannot vote on movies that are not there. If the Academy is not seeing the performances, and we all know more or less the Oscar kind of movies, right? Yeah. If Black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever race is not in those movies, they can't vote on something. That's just how it goes. There's a procedure for the Academy in the vote. They don't pick random movies. That's just not how it goes. It's a whole voting process. So you got to give them something that they can vote on. So the argument, in my opinion, at that time needed to be on the studio heads that feel that if we cast Black actors, it's not going to be played in, you know, overseas someplace. On the producers that don't want to back Black actors and other minorities as well as the lead. On the writers that do not see us for some reason in these roles, or don't want to bend on the casting process. That to me was where we needed to focus the argument of hashtag Oscars so white, right? Because if the movie is not there, Xavier, I can't vote on it. Right. I can't do anything about it. Yeah. So I think that there's slowly been a shift. However, with the shift in our inclusion, if you will, there's still forms of discrimination still within it. Because if you look at a lot of your shows and your films now, you may see more, if we're talking about us, more Blacks, it's still a certain two types of Blacks, you know? And that's not our world. If you look at our families, we look all different ways. Yep. So I don't understand why, when it comes to minorities, even with the Hispanic community, Asians as well, there's always like two looks that are popular at a certain time, and then they change it. You know, it's politics. It's politics on top of politics. Yeah. You know, even if you look at this year's Oscars, which was interesting, right? But it was like politics on top of politics on top of politics, right? Yeah. Everybody that won an Oscar in the biggest categories, the best actor, best actress, best supporting, you know, best picture, all of that, all of them won from movies that were backed by major studios. All of them. Sony Pictures, Warner Brothers, A24, all of these are big studios, because the Academy is still built on the old principles. They're still built on we believe in the studio. Right. We're not ready to, like, we're kind of like Amazon, Netflix, stay in your lane. We're not going to give you all the awards. Right. And if you look at that, when you still reach that level, and you may still be of another race, there's still those politics that go into it.
Sounds never ending. Unfortunately.
It's like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You know, how far you get, you still may not be first choice. Yeah. It's just what it is why you can't do it for that. You have to have a love and a passion for the work, for the art, and for what you're doing. And that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day, because there's so much. And, you know, even being a minority, with seeing things change, there's still certain fads and trends that still leave some of us aside. It's just what it is.
I don't know. I feel like it's one of those easily, like, quicksand sinking sort of places. It kind of reminds me of Get Out, but like for real. If you you're doing yourself into, you get to the sunken place.
I love Xavier's. That's like your caption. Like, so the industry is like Get Out. Like, just watch that movie first and then decide if this is what you want to do.
Right. It's not a comedy. No. Yeah. Oh man.
It's.
Go ahead.
But you know what? It's funny about it is that sometimes I say to myself, I'm like, am I a masochist? Like, I wonder sometimes, because you deal with these mind things that are happening sometimes when, let's say, maybe you're not booking, or you know, you've got so much on your plate or whatever it is. But then I just think it's with anything else, you just got to remove yourself away, have some quiet time, maybe do a meditation, whatever your peace of mind thing is, and then come back to it. Right? Because there's so much with it, you know, and we're all at different levels in the industry. And I'm like, I feel like this at this level, imagine at that level. Whoa, okay, you know. But you just have to, again, I think that it comes back to knowing that this is what you love to do.
Yeah.
You know. But I agree with you. Sometimes you're like, am I in a horror story with this? Like, what is going on?
Oh, it's so true. And I mean, okay, so let me see. I think you touched on it a bit, but you said you've been doing some of this entertainment thing since you were like 4. Like when I think of like a 4-year-old in the entertainment industry, my mind it goes like Baby Raven Simone. You know what I'm saying? Like
okay, so
go ahead.
Right, I wasn't. I wasn't Raven Simone like doing TV or anything like that. Basically, I was one of those kids. I was always 5 going on 50, but I knew that I wanted to dance. I wanted to do ballet. Like that's what I wanted to do. And so I was doing, and that's what I did. I did ballet. I did modeling. I I would even pay my brother like a quarter, literally, like from doing chores, a quarter to lift me up like I was a sugar plum fairy. Yeah, my older brother. I would, always had a thing for the theatrics, obviously, right?
Yes.
So like, and dancing and doing different stages and everything. And I think by the time I was like 9, I wanted to start singing, and my parents were separated at that time. So the finances totally changed. And I was, me and my brother with my mom, single family household. So that went on the back burner for a while. And so like I started doing like smaller things, small like industrial things or whatever. I still though wanted to have like a high school experience. So I didn't go full out with it. I was on my dance team. We were state champions. So you can imagine the things that went into that. And things like that. And so then when I did graduate high school, I was like, for me, I was like, I don't want to go to college. And I was actually accepted into the Lee Strasberg Theater Institute. And at the time though, yeah, and I mean the one in New York, and I say that with love, just saying. And at the at the time, my dad though, he didn't want to pay for it because he didn't believe in what I was doing at all. And my father hadn't been around. Honestly, I saw my dad like 3 times between the ages of 9 and 18, 3 times. And I was like, you kind of don't have a say in what I'm doing. And my mother supported me 100% in everything that I do and still does. So I was just like, I had to work, but then I was recording more at the time. And I was actually at a couple of like labels and in talks for things. And then it just fell through. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. But at the same time, I was really, really getting into acting and finding out what it was about. And I just felt so connected. So long story short, the reasons why I kind of got into acting are not the same reasons why I stayed into acting. Initially it was like, I feel like this is therapeutic and I can act out all these things that I'm feeling because I'm not that kind of an emotional, like wear your heart on your shoulder, whatever kind of person. That's not me. Felt like that. But the reason why I stayed into it, you learn so much when you immerse yourself into it. Is totally different. And so it's a long journey. There's no overnight success. Unless you want to be in the Instagram influencer world, and that's a whole different story, right? There's no overnight successes. It's just what it is. And you have to, again, that goes back to what I said before with the business, is you have to learn that the path is just not like, boom, you're there, that's it. It's back and forth and this and that and whatever happens to be going on with you personally too. And I'm here for it though. I love it, and I couldn't imagine my life doing anything else. Believe me, I've tried a couple other things, and I was like, oh no, I can't. I'm like, no, because, and then also too, something would always pull me back to it. It would be like an opportunity, it'd be a booking, it'd be an audition, something would always pull me back. And to me, that's the universe saying, just keep going with it. You're good. Just keep going with it. But if you honestly look at the business and people say, oh, this person came out of nowhere, no, not really.
Right.
Not at all. Really like simple, quick reference that everyone knows is obviously everyone knows Kevin Costner. Everybody knows Kevin Costner. In the early 90s, Kevin Costner was like the biggest male movie star that there was, right?
Yeah.
10 years before that, he was in Night Shift. It's kind of a funny comedy. I actually like it. It's funny, with Michael Keaton and Henry Winkler.
Okay.
His credit was frat boy number 1. He didn't say a thing. Kevin Costner didn't say a thing in this movie.
Yeah.
He's like, and please rent it, watch it, wherever you can find it. I don't know. I actually have the DVD. Yeah, I have the DVD of it. And watch this film because he doesn't say anything. Like, he's in the background. They're like partying. It's a funny movie. So they have this escort service that they use, and they ended up doing it in the morgue or something like that, like having a party in the morgue. So inappropriate. Yeah. And so he's like part of the frat boy fraternity that's doing this, and he's dancing in the background. He doesn't say a thing, not one thing.
Yeah.
10 years later, he's one of the biggest like movie stars.
Yeah.
You call that an overnight success? I surely don't.
Yeah.
You can look at Back to the Future. Billy Zane. He's one of the friends with, like, you know, the character Biff that's always like picking on George McFly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zane didn't say nothing in that movie. Another one, like 10, he didn't say nothing. 10, 15 years later, Billy Zane was bigger than everybody in that movie except for Michael J. Fox, you know?
Wow.
Bigger than everybody. So that's the thing about it. You're not here to be like, oh, let me just get the paycheck. I mean, if that's what you want, you're going to have a long and unhappy life.
Yeah.
You are. But if you give your talents with love, you will be blessed. That's just what it is. It'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
You know, I think that mindset is something that I'm seeing more so across the board, to be totally honest with you. I think more people are just getting it. They're like, you know what? No, I do need to do things that are going to be not just good for right now, but good for the rest of my life, and hopefully good for those that come after me. Because every single thing that we're doing, every door that we're opening, wherever it may be, is for the next person. And I think that's something we can never lose sight of.
Absolutely. Dude, and that's why everything matters. It all matters.
Yep.
And so I think that that's important as well when you're deciding, you know, if you want to be in the arts, whether you want to be an actor, you want to be a filmmaker, whatever you want to do, you know, what is it that you're contributing? What does it mean? So I agree with you.
Well then, hey, listen, great question, Miss Ashley Johnson. Do you know what?
Miss Johnson, if you're nasty.
Right. Love it. Yes. Do you know what you want your ultimate legacy to be? Do you have a bit of an idea?
I want to be able to reach people, be the people's artist, be able to reach people across all different cultural barriers, on every different level. I would like to make and be a part of movies that matter, that affect people, whether it's a great drama piece or it's a piece that is about, you know, someone we need to shed light to because they've done something important. I would love for that to be, and I also would like to be able to leverage over that success into making this world a better place. So with that being said, I feel as though when you're at a certain level in your career, you can take that and you can leverage it on a whole for the causes that matter to you. This is why earlier I think I said what we do does not define who you are, because you can't just be an actor. Where's the generosity? Where's the compassion? Where's the empathy?
Right.
And I think that for myself on a whole, yeah, it would be great to have all these awards and accolades. That's nice. Wonderful. We all want that. But in terms of being able to use that, because people will listen to you when you're at a certain level easier. I'm not saying people won't listen to you now. They will. But at a certain level, you can call the shots. You can write the check. What's that foundation going to cost me to do? Oh, okay. I don't have to go around and do a charity event for it. I'll write the check myself. Like, I think that's pretty important. And I think that's one of the legacies that I would like to be a part of. You know, like the Kirk Douglas with the Los Angeles Mission is a great charity for homeless. And Ann Douglas was married to Kirk Douglas, and she leveraged over some of her money there. You have Audrey Hepburn, who, for myself, really wasn't one of my favorite actresses until I learned that she basically gave up her career in Hollywood to work to really be a global ambassador for UNICEF. I mean, she pretty much walked away from a lot of it to do that. That's something. Yeah. And I think that it's beautiful, and I would like to add my voice to that.
Yeah.
I really would.
I wholeheartedly believe that everything you want to do, you're going to achieve it. Because just as someone who got to see you do your thing, like up close and personal, if you will, through Zoom, at the Culture and Diversity Film Festival, you're such a great host. Like, honestly, I even watched the demo reel. I even watched the reel. I was like, man, this woman is just really awesome. You take the time to get to learn whoever it is you're going to interview. You do it with such ease. You make people feel comfortable. You are very well versed in film knowledge, and you just carry that with you throughout everything. So I just can't wait to see. Listen, I'm such a fan. You have no idea. I can't wait to see what you so yeah, in fact, that being said, where can we see you next? What you got going on? What's on the way?
Right. So right now I'm on that audition block right now.
Yep.
I mean, that's to be honest with you, that's kind of, I mean, there are a couple of things that will be I guess kind of like coming out, if you will, but I don't really know dates and stuff given with COVID, with things that have happened. Mm-hmm. So right now, like we talked about, I'm doing RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Yes.
I'm doing that. It's amazing. It's an eye opener. I can't wait to continue to bring that what I'm learning to the process. Yeah. And then also, like I said, I'm waiting to hear back about a couple callbacks. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. I mean, it's kind of where the industry is starting to open back up, and I'm being mindful of what I'm comfortable with. Mm-hmm. So probably like maybe I would say 2 months from now, that's when I'm ready to go like 100% wholeheartedly with a couple other things that I personally need to take care of. But right now it's like I'm like I have to be like, stay tuned, because you know we had some time off and there are certain things that are slowly coming out, but I don't know dates just because of what's going on with everything. Mm-hmm. But what I'm working on right now is just, okay, got the call back. Let's see what happens with that. Let's see what happens with that. I mean, that's kind of what the process is. Oh, I actually forgot. A short that I was in is like, it's won like a couple of awards at some different festivals. I think like at the Black New Orleans Film Festival, the Charlotte Film Festival, Shanks Rain. So I think it's won like maybe 3. Yeah, I think it's won like 3 awards. So I'm not. Well, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty exciting. With Jonathan Rowan, and we briefly talked on that, and we'll talk later. Like we'll talk later on that. But yeah, so I completely forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, it has been like kind of doing the festival circuit, and it won a couple of awards, which is pretty cool. But I'm here for whatever, you know. Like I said, I'm open to whatever, as long as it's something that doesn't, like I said, question my integrity, my morality, and things like that. It's like whatever it is, it's all good. Yeah. So we'll see.
Well, listen, girl, thank you so much for your time. I've had a really dope experience talking with you. I love chatting with you.
Me too.
You are fantastic.
You too. It's been fun. I mean, I love it. Like I said, I could stay on one subject of the arts for an hour, but then that wouldn't be good for anybody else, and I would. But thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. And yeah, I had a great time. Everybody keep watching this Trailblazing Films. Yes.
Thank you.